Get back, motherfucker. You don't know me like that.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Metacast podcast. That's the podcast that explores itself, explores ourselves, and explores the self in general. My name's Ty. I'm going to be your host.
And I know who I am. I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as a distance.
And tonight is the Metacast movie show. That was good. That was good. I am trying as hard as I can right now to stall because I completely forgot to pull up the trailer first. So I am getting the Tropic Thunder official trailer pulled up right now. There we go. Making sure that this PC is muted. It is. This PC is muted. Okay.
Apple bottom jeans. Boots with the sorry.
No. Perfect. But yeah. So again, this is the Metacast movie show about Tropic Thunder. Oh, oh my God, what happened to my scene? Why does this keep happening?
Do we lose all the things?
It did that thing where it's not the entire screen for some reason. Let me just grab it and yank it real quick. Hold on, that's phrasing. Hold on.
Take off your pants and jacket.
This needs to be unlocked. Nope. This one unlocked. Here we go. Make it just a little bigger. There we go. I drag it till it gets bigger.
It's an effort to seem more organic and personable. And if you're not, well, we edited this part out because we're perfectionists. But either way, it's all for marketing reasons. So if you're...
I hope I edit this. I'm gonna try my best. This is another one of those reminders to myself. If you're hearing this in the audio version, I fucked up and forgot to edit this out.
Does that mean we have to do the whole thing over again? Because I don't know if I can do that intro again.
No, we're not. No. We're fine.
Okay.
All right. So, Tropic Thunder is a. Oh man, it is a. Where and now I close my notes, dude. Tonight is just not my night. Holy shit!
That was made in a year. There we go. A type of genre. Someone directed it. And
that's not even true. It wasn't even directed. Did you know that this was just a documentary? All right, no. All right. So
you learned it here.
Tropic Thunder is a 2008 action comedy. I'm going to call it a war parody. It's written by Justin Theroux, Ethan Coen, and Ben Stiller, and directed by Ben Stiller.
It is starring Ben Stiller, Jack Black, Robert Downey Jr., and Steve Coogan.
The budget for this movie was $92 million and box office take of $195.7 million.
The tomato meter was 82% with an audience score of 70%.
So Tropic Thunder is, like I said, it's a parody film. It tells the story of a group of, I would say, diva-like actors that are working on a Vietnam War movie. When they discover that the actors' performances are not really up to what they're looking for, they try an alternative method to get the performances that they're really searching for. Okay, so this movie is, I think it's hilarious. Personally, I think it's hilarious, but I also can completely understand people that think it's stupid and not funny at all. I think, like, we were talking about this right before the episode started. There's a lot of what I would consider like almost divisive comedy. I think it's very similar to stuff like I said right before the episode, the Three Stooges. There are some people that find that type of comedy hilarious, and there are a lot of people that just don't get it at all and think it's the stupidest thing in the world. This, I think I think it's just like that, and there's not a lot of middle ground. You're either going to laugh the entire time or be confused the entire time about how anyone could find this kind of stupidity funny. There's not a lot of middle ground there. So when it comes down to giving it an actual just recommendation, should you watch this? I have to give it a yes. Not only because I personally find this movie funny, but I think the the cost of finding out if you like this type of movie in this genre is not that high. You're going to know within the first few minutes of this movie if you're either going to really enjoy it or if you're going to hate it. So I would say, like, I mean, in the way that this movie's set up, you're going to know before the movie begins. During the fake trailers and the fake commercial, you'll know if you're going to like this or not. So I would say just give it a shot.
Yeah, you really give it 15 to 90 seconds and you'll pretty much know, and definitely within the first 3 minutes. Yeah. For me, this movie is actually one of my favorite movies ever. And the thing you said about it being divisive however you say that, it was. When I saw this for the first time, I was working at Blockbuster then, the video store. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's like Redbox, but there's a store. And yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's
and
crazy.
My girlfriend at the time also worked at a Blockbuster down the road. So one of us rented this with our employee account or whatever. And we watched it. It was me, my girlfriend at the time, her sister, and her brother-in-law. And I mentioned this last week. Her brother-in-law and I were like holding each other. We were laughing so hard. And she and her sister thought it was the dumbest thing ever. They just thought that we were the worst people in the world and had the worst sense of humor because we somehow thought that this crap was funny. But I would say that if you take yourself too seriously or you take life too seriously, don't watch this movie because you're not going to like it. But probably if you were in the military or you're a nurse or an ER doc or a paramedic or a firefighter, you're going to get it because you have to not take life too seriously.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's a yes, but with just sort of a maybe not if you fit into a few of these categories. So like if you don't like satire and you don't understand it and you just take everything too seriously, just don't. Like you'll just be offended and upset and whatever. And honestly, they made this movie to offend people like that anyway.
Yeah.
So but if you do watch it and you find yourself being like really, really offended or whatever, not thinking this is dumb and ridiculous, then maybe like reevaluate your perspective on life.
I would say that if you watch it and you find yourself offended, just fuck off. All right, no.
Yes.
You want to? Let's get
co-written by Ty.
Yeah. Let's get into this. Let's get into the actual meat of this movie, dude. So I had forgotten how fucking funny this movie was. I have not seen this in a long time, and there was a lot of it that I do not remember at all. I mean, I know I've seen this movie, but I completely forgot about the whole like plot twist of Four Leaf having hands and all that shit, and like like I know I've seen this movie, but like I remembered nothing but the fact that it was like ridiculous.
Yeah, dude, like all the way through the sort of previews, I was like, this is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck are we watching? And
from the very beginning, like from the first words of the movie are just like booty sweat.
Yeah. And I was, and then it got to the point where
I wish I would have prepared for this. Apparently they sold booty sweat. I would have loved to have get a can on eBay, like, and just have that for the thumbnail.
You could get Bust-a Nut bars too.
Oh my God.
People had like Tropic Thunder themed parties with this shit.
I want to bust a nut so bad.
Me too.
Phrasing.
Apparently the booty sweat tastes terrible, but like even through the scene like where like Danny McBride being the pyrotechnics guy, that was before Danny McBride had done a whole lot yet.
Yeah.
And this was after Iron Man. So this was coming off of that. I think that's one of the reasons why they put Robert Downey in the movie.
I know that Iron Man had been filmed. Was it actually released yet?
Oh, because during the red carpet interviews, they asked Robert Downey if this was going to make more money than Iron Man. So it's entirely possible that when this premiere happened, Iron Man hadn't come out yet.
Oh, there's no way.
About him,
he had to have been working on both at the same time because Iron Man came out in May of 2008, and then Tropic Thunder came out in August of 2008. So he would have had to have been cast for both already.
Because he talked about like having a warm welcome or the audiences being receptive to Iron Man or something, but maybe that was just like pre-production, like the ideas for it.
Yeah.
But the thing that I like about this movie is, okay, my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movie ever is Last Action Hero, because he makes fun of himself and he makes fun of action films from that period of time.
Yes.
And to me, the coolest people, the most down to earth people, can make fun of themselves.
Yeah, of course.
And, I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger is like a confident person bordering on arrogance most of the time.
Yeah.
But when you watch Last Action Hero, you realize he really doesn't take himself too seriously. And, you know, like this movie, they do all of it. They do the rapper trying to act, who's also essentially just a way to sell merchandise.
Yep.
So it's commercial rap at the time. They do the comedy person that is an addict, and not to say there's anything wrong with addicts. If you're in recovery, cool, good for you. But you know, you are who you are. He's an addict that isn't recovering or trying to recover.
Yeah.
Then you got the action guy and the needless sequels, like when he's like, and who would have thought it would happen 5 more times?
And I love that the action guy is Ben Stiller, which is like not at all typecast for that. Like, but I mean, obviously, like honestly, great though. Like I think his performance is great, and this movie taught me how great Ben Stiller is at getting in shape. This and like Meet the Parents. You remember he had like a 6-pack in Meet the Parents for no reason, playing like a male nurse.
Yeah, he got really jacked for this movie. It was pretty crazy. I mean, even the Lazarus, whatever his name is, I forget.
Kirk Lazarus.
Yeah, Kirk Lazarus. Even he like, you know, comments like in character in the movie about it.
Then, you know how Robert Downey Jr. says in the movie that he doesn't break character until he does the DVD commentary.
Yeah,
apparently he did the DVD commentary for this as Kirk Lazarus. And in the commentary, he's messed with Ben Stiller. He's like, there's a part where he's like, hey, tell him about who in between scenes you were doing push-ups so your muscles be all big and stuff. I think I want to watch the commentary so bad. I've never seen it, but I've heard it's just hilarious. And
it's funny because, you know, people will watch this film and not know what DVD commentary is. Like
it's just Blu-ray commentary now, or like, but I mean, like the commentary is still like a common extra feature, but
very few people really buy discs anymore, right? I mean,
true. Well, but anytime you buy like a digital download that comes with bonus features or stuff like that, it's very common to get the director's commentary. It's just people would be like, "What's a DVD?" They'll know what like commentary is normally, but it's like, yeah, what the fuck's a DVD?
And you know, by far the funniest thing in there, I thought, was that they put a well-known actor in the trailer with Kirk Lazarus, Tobey Maguire,
as himself, yeah. Which was like
they're making fun of like Brokeback Mountain and films like that.
Yeah. And I love that they called him like MTV Video Choice Awards Best Kiss winner, which I think he actually won. I think that was I think that was a real thing.
When MJ like peels off the mask and he's upside down.
The upside down. Yeah, of course.
That was a good movie.
And dude, I love how like they've done that in every Spider-Man movie since, or like hinted at it. It's perfect. It's like, oh, okay. So hold on. Speaking of, before we leave the section with the trailers, one thing I wanted to maybe I wonder if they weren't allowed to use like a legit looking green band screen. You remember how the green band was like very fake looking for the trailers? You know what I'm saying?
The what? Oh yeah, I didn't even know that's what that thing was called.
Yeah, it's like because the all ages trailer is the green band. That screen is green. If you ever seen like the R-rated version of a trailer that has a red band? Yeah, and that screen is red. Yeah, so it's like whenever you see this trailer has been approved for all audiences, it's always green. They call that the green band, but it didn't have the MPAA information at the bottom. It's like I wonder if they were like not allowed to do that, if that made it look too real or whatever. Like
it's probably like a regulatory reason, and also I mean like it's the fact that those would have been approved for all audiences is hilarious because none of them should have been.
So the question I got to ask though is, would you go see Scorcher 6 Global Meltdown, The Fatties Fart 2, Satan's Alley, or would you skip the movies, eat a busted nut bar, and drink a can of Booty Sweat? Those are your 4 options.
I hated The Nutty Professor, and I disliked any of the Eddie Murphy movies where he played several characters, except for Coming to America. I actually despised.
Coming to America. Yeah. You can't hate Coming to America though. That movie's just too good.
That movie's brilliant. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. And see, Scorcher, like, I'm the guy that wanted to do the most recent Rambo movie. So I feel like I would have just like liked them from my childhood so much. You know what? I probably just would have.
I would definitely go. I would see Scorcher 1.
Yeah. And like, yeah, I would have seen, I would have seen Al Pacino and been like, you know what, I gotta try this, and I would have ate a busted nut bar and washed it down with some booty sweat.
I bet you would.
That's what I would have done.
I would have
And
been.
Satan's-
I would have been balls deep in Satan's Alley. Oh man, I would have been.
Well, it's the fact that they call it that too, because
It's perfect.
they played like the weird, like almost like 90s porn music in the trailer. It's
But the trailer's edited so well. Like that is like a trailer for a movie that I would see. Like that, the first half of it with the dramatic like scenes of him yelling and everything, like that had me. I would go see that.
And I think they did it that way. Man, I hope you can't hear me like crinkling this aluminum foil up in this Pellegrino can.
Oh, you're good.
I'm opening up a can of Pellegrino. So yeah, I don't think I would have seen any of them, because probably what would have happened is people would have raved and ranted about how great Satan's Alley was, like they did with Brokeback Mountain, and then I would have wasted 3.5 hours of my life.
That sentence, people would have ranted and raved about how great Satan's Alley was. I mean, they have. I go on any internet forum, people are always ranting and raving about how great getting in Satan's Alley is.
Yeah.
I don't.
Is Satan's Alley a euphemism that I don't understand?
I think it's the butthole. Yeah. I think you're going in Satan's Alley. Yeah, I think that's the.
Okay.
Maybe
that's
not.
So
I mean,
much funnier to me now. I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah. So now
Maybe-
when you listen back to this, think of every sentence you said talking about Satan's Alley, because they're all good. They're all really.
I'm thinking about the maniacal, like when I first saw this movie, I think about the maniacal laughter of my girlfriend's brother-in-law, the look of disgust on her face and her sister's face, and me laughing, but not as hard as the other guy.
Yeah. Well, see, I think he's tried to park in Satan's Alley before, and there's been a parking attendant that told him no, and that may have been why that was so funny for him.
You know what? I wouldn't put it past him. We haven't seen each other in years, but I wouldn't put it past him at all. It's actually been almost a decade. Actually, no, 12 years now. I can't remember the last time I saw that guy. It's been a while.
But I was not ready for the amount of stupidity, though. I was really like I said earlier, it had been so long since I'd seen it, and I remembered it being funny, but I didn't remember it being just the over the top ridiculous. And it was like within the first few minutes, I was just like pausing it to laugh and take notes, and it's just this movie is ridiculous, man.
And like they even did like the regular cliche 1960s music Vietnam chopper intro to like every Vietnam action film ever. But there's a reason for that, because they actually specifically created this tactic to drop troops on helicopters. Didn't they call it like wasn't it like something cavalry or something like that?
I've always heard the term like hot LZ or whatever, but I don't know.
Are you sure that was related to Vietnam?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a landing zone that's in the middle of a like conflict, basically, where you're not even you're not trying to land.
I was trying to make that sexual, but you ruined it.
Oh, hold on.
There you
There
go.
we go. Now it's sexual. Now it's sexual.
All right, we got it. And then the epic slow motion death scene, guy keeps getting shot, and
Which that was actually apparently straight out of Platoon. I didn't know that
Really?
until researching for this episode. But even like the whole getting on his knees with arms out and everything, and then getting shot, like that is like they ripped that straight from Platoon. The scene right before that, I forget if it's before or after, but where it's close up on Ben Stiller's face, and it's like kind of got the shell shocked noise, or like the ringing in the ears, and it like slow motion goes to everyone else and they're yelling at him. That was beat for beat from Saving Private Ryan. Even like the time that the cuts and everything are almost like straight on. Like they did a lot of stuff that was like not parodying a specific movie, but like scenes from a particular movie like that.
And in some ways, by doing it that closely, they almost pay respect to the genre that they're making fun of.
Which another thing I thought was really cool, like immediately it stood out to me that the movie looked like it could be in that genre. Like I don't know the right way to, like as far as the cinematography, like the way that it looked on screen, nothing looked out of place. Like if you just took frames from the movie, it could look like it was a war movie. Apparently the cinematographer was the guy from Braveheart and Thin Red Line. So he was actually from like serious war movies, so he knew how to make the shots and everything look legit like that. So that's why it looks so great.
Well, I mean, I think that's maybe part of the appeal is like they really have the look, like they're because the thing about the jungles in Vietnam is that you're not just sweaty, you're like, it's so humid.
Mm-hmm.
There, it's like just hot everywhere, and it's just like this hot you can't get away from.
Yep.
And you're crawling around, and you basically just stay dirty all the time because it's muddy and wet everywhere. If you have to crawl, you're gonna get covered in mud. So yeah, I didn't even realize that because there's a lot of stuff from the movie, because apparently Ben Stiller wrote this or had the idea for it like forever ago.
Yeah.
There was a movie called Empire of the Sun that I think he went out for, that he didn't like actually think he was going out for like a small part in it.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point in an interview, Robert Downey actually makes a joke about how this movie is a result of his resentment at the genre.
That's funny. Yeah.
Like not giving him any parts.
I thought it was almost like a chance for Ben Stiller to look as buff as possible on screen. He was just like he wrote himself a part where it's like, I just want to look really good on screen, so I'm gonna have no sleeves. I'm gonna make like, it was just it seems like it's funny when you're the writer and the director that you make yourself like that character. But no, I mean, still great job though. Yeah, not.
Well, I think he has a lot of understanding of himself, because the contrast between the roles he usually plays, and who he kind of is, it makes it hilarious for him to be an action guy, and it makes you realize like how, you know, action stars aren't necessarily tough people. They just kind of look like it on screen.
Well, you got to think, I forget where I read this one time, but it's like, you have to think of the fact that every tough actor was still the drama nerd. They're still the fucking drama nerds. Like they may seem tough on screen, but they were probably in theater. They've been on stage a lot of their life.
That's true. I mean, the action star just looks like it. I mean, you know, it's like half the military recruitment commercials, those people aren't even in the military that are like acting like they are. But you know, like there's a point in the movie where they do like at the very beginning, when they do the whole, I don't know what to call it other than like the colorblind cliche. Like oh, you're my brother now.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
We went to war together, but when we come back, we're gonna go back to the same place with the same tension and the same issues. And because a lot of people actually cite Vietnam as being a way that one of the ways that we started to kind of deal with segregation as a nation is because people fought together. And I mean, the reality is the reason why that like super like colorblind scene is a cliche in Vietnam War movies is because that happened. Because you don't have time. This is a dude that you're relying on for your life.
You know what's really funny? I did not, when you started talking about the colorblind scene and the like, no part of me got that until right now, because it was so hard for me to see Robert Downey Jr.'s character as black. I literally true. I did not, like, I got the whole like just you're my brother, and it was like, yeah, like, well, they went to war together, they're like, they consider each other brothers now, like, holy shit, I really like that went way over my head until right now, because I did not see him as a black character at all. Like, oh, I mean, man.
And the way he plays it, you can tell the way he plays it that it's so, and the fact that he's Australian and he's playing a black American, like that's even funnier to me, because it's like everything about it was just like a really ridiculous stereotype, and all this weird like strange like jive sort of stuff that he's kind of talking that doesn't exist. It's like, and everything about it's just so, because there's a thing that you can see, like, where when something gets like offensive enough or crazy enough, you just have to know that this person's not being serious anymore.
Yes. Yep.
And they go so over the top with the ridiculousness that it's like no one would take this seriously. And you know the scene like where they stop, they cut because Action Jackson can't cry.
Yeah.
And Al Pacino's in there. He's like, no, hell, no, I didn't pee on that girl. No, you see, she walked by like while I was peeing. So like,
yeah.
And that was when I think there was the R. Kelly controversy happening at the time.
Well, in all fairness, the R. Kelly controversy has been ongoing for the past 20 years.
Yeah, he never really.
The R. Kelly controversy is still going on. That's one of the parts of this movie that is still like you could still do in 2020 and it's relevant.
I love the fact that they go out there, like, you know, names like Michael Fassbender and Benedict Cumberbatch, like Damien Cockburn.
Yeah.
because Americans are just used to British people having these names that we think are very strange.
Cockburn was a perfect choice for that name, though. I love
like,
that.
Tug Speedman, like
yes,
like Vin Diesel, or I mean Jean-Claude Van Damme. Like I don't think that's his actual name.
Yeah, no.
I mean, and Jason, I have no idea how the hell Jason Statham got to keep his real name. I don't even know if his name is Jason Statham.
I don't know.
So there was one thing that I forgot, that there's a point in the movie where I laughed really, really, really hard at the beginning, and that's where the euphoria started for me, because I just kept laughing after that.
Yeah.
It's the scene where the director steps on the landmine.
Yes.
He's like, but the way he explodes is so not how that happens.
Yeah, the explosion is like it comes from, it's centered feet above the ground. It's not like an upwards explosion. It's like he just explodes like from the core of himself out.
And then, like, when he picks up the guy's head,
yeah, and puts it on the end of his M16, like
he starts like the
M16A1. Sorry,
not the soldiers. I guess the guerrilla type fighters, a cartel, or whatever, that are in the woods.
Yeah,
like, what the fuck is all these people? Like, they have no fear of death.
Oh my god!
But the way that they do the director's head, like the special effects people, the way that they make it is like looks so silly.
Yeah, it was like, great.
It looks so ridiculous,
and like
it even like moves and articulates and shit.
Whatever he pulls out of it, it's almost like there's guts falling out. It's like entrails falling out of a neck.
He's got intestines in his head. It's like,
yeah, it was. Yeah, it's that whole scene, and how like how Downey Jr.'s character obviously knew that it was real. That motherfucker's dead.
And it's like, and I already know that we're gonna spend at least 10 to 15 minutes just on Robert Downey Jr.'s character at some point.
He was so good. Oh my god!
But he did the things he did. Like he was talking about this on Joe Rogan a while ago, and he said that his mother was horrified when he told her about the movie. I think he might have actually sent her a copy of the script, and that she was horrified at the fact that he was actually going to play this role in this movie.
I thought so. Oh my god, he was. No way. Hold on.
He was what?
Hold up. Let me just verify this real quick before I click. I think he was actually nominated for Best Supporting Actor, Best Actor in a Supporting Role.
Seriously?
Yes. For Kirk Lazarus in Tropic Thunder in 2009. Yes. Oh my god.
Well, I mean, he was a dude that was. He was playing a dude that was playing a dude who is disguised as another dude. So, I could see like how you're, because it's like you're acting and then you're acting like you're acting.
Yeah, I mean, it was like he did effectively play like at least two characters in this movie very well, and showed range between the two. Whether or not, I mean, like, there's a lot that can be said about the offensive nature of his role. I think he's caught some flack for it in the years since then. And I mean, like we talked about leading up to this movie, I don't think you could make this movie in 2020. I don't think Robert Downey Jr. would do that again, or any white actor. I like, the climate has changed so much that like even in 2008, that was a like pretty controversial thing to do. And I think I even remember like a clip of like at the ceremony, at the actual Oscar ceremony, when it was Cuba Gooding Jr. on stage reading the nominees, and he said something to Robert Downey Jr. about like, I forget how he worded it. It's something about how like showing your range as a white man playing a black man. He's like, "Are you out of your mind?" Like, he even says that as a, like, of course he's joking, but he does say that like with every joke there's like got to be some bit of seriousness. So I'm sure that there were a lot of people that were, maybe not offended, but just kind of like, what the hell? Like, and it is weird. Like, we don't do that anymore at all in movies. We just kind of whitewash the role. We're not going to have someone like portray the race that they're supposed to be. We just make that role white. Like, I mean, look at Scarlett Johansson in oh my god, what's the name of that anime turned live
Ghost
action?
of the Shell.
Yeah, thank you. I forgot about that. Like, they didn't try to make her look Japanese at all. They were just like, okay, here's white chick playing this android.
Well, arguably, the character didn't look Japanese anime characters don't look Japanese. So that's the weird thing about it.
But they're in Japan. Like it's like the character should have looked like as a live action character should, but yeah, it's like but they wouldn't do that where they're just gonna like put her in like, for lack of a better term, like yellow face or whatever. Like you would never do that anymore. Like
well, I mean, there's a movie that took place. I think Christian Bale was in it. It was wasn't he in a movie where he like played Moses or something like that?
That sounds hold on and there was like
I think like Billy Zane played the Pharaoh.
I remember that.
But yeah, I mean the thing that's weird about Tropic Thunder is that what happened in Tropic Thunder in the plot was it was a movie. It was a role that should have had a black actor cast in it.
Yeah.
But because of Tropic Thunder being what it was a requisite that the actor that played that role in Tropic Thunder was Caucasian. And the thing is, they couldn't have gotten a bad actor to play that role in Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
Because then it would have been just a disaster or a clusterfuck. And the thing is that Robert Downey as a person is just so kind of cavalier anyway that you kind of recognize he's not like taking it too seriously. And the thing about the movie is that it takes so many things apart. There's so much more going on there because number one, they're making fun of a thing that was kind of fucked up anyway. Like having like white actors play like black people in movies at a time where there weren't really a lot of actors that were. Did you see that movie? Like the altered history movie that takes place in Hollywood. I cannot remember the name of it.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
But it's like where they didn't cast black actors in any major roles. They always had them playing like service staff and shit like that. And they wanted them to do this like played up like caricature of like what people wanted to see as like a stereotype at the time. I cannot remember the name of the movie. But there's a woman in the movie that was like wanted to be a serious actor, but she could only get these like ridiculous like roles. And the idea was that they were basically saying like this happens and it's fucked up. So like let's make fun of it. This is the thing that's happened. This is a blemish on show business. Let's make fun of this shit. Because it's so fucking stupid that any of this happened. We had anything like this. And the argument, I think, is that they're calling what Robert Downey Jr. is doing is blackface. But if you look at when that was done, like there were movies on like American movie classics and shit. I saw that type of performance for the first time. I think it was like Bing Crosby or Fred Astaire. And they were like in a movie where they were on a stage performing, like the character was, and it was like black shoe polish that only covered the face. And they were doing like these.
That's like a famous scene. I forget what
these
that is.
Like ridiculous, like, accents or whatever. And like that is like abhorrent, like offensive and like rude. Like it's disrespectful. And that to me is a totally different thing. Robert Downey Jr. is just wearing makeup and acting. But another thing that I really thought was
but at the same time, hold on, we can't leave that point. But at the same time, I cannot tell. I'm a firm believer that I can't tell other people when they have the right to be offended or not. So when people of color are offended by that role, I completely understand why, and I'm not going to tell them that they have no right to be or whatever. But
and I find the term "people of color" unbelievably offensive. But like everybody else seems to think it's fine. But I don't like it. But everybody else it's cool with it. But it's like I don't. Yeah, if you're offended, that's fine. But it's like the whole point of the movie is this is going to piss people off.
Yeah.
But that's the reason why. And actually that scene, Brandon T. Jackson that plays Al Pacino.
Yeah.
The scene where he's like, "What do you mean, you people?" And Brandon Jackson says, "What do you mean, you people?"
Yeah.
That was improv.
That's good. That's funny. I didn't know that.
Because everybody on that set is such a good fucking actor, all of them stayed in character.
Yeah.
And they did that scene.
Yeah.
Like that was complete improv. And actually Brandon Jackson, he was interviewed within the last few years talking about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying, I was in my 20s, you know, whatever. Like it didn't really piss me off then, except for that one scene. And he was like, yeah, that wasn't even in the script. I just said that.
That's funny.
But that's the thing, is that like what he's doing is like, and then the scene where he like holds the other character and like recites the fucking theme song to the Jeffersons, that is another thing that requires commentary. Because there's this Australian white dude who's talking to this guy in character like he knows what it's like to experience that life.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that to me is social commentary. That's not offensive. That's bringing people's attention to something important. Because at that scene, even though I found this movie hilarious, I hated Kirk Lazarus in that moment as an actor. I was like, you piece of shit. And I'm like, what are you even talking about? Now we're up here. Who's we? Like, and then at the point where he's like, that's the theme song of the Jeffersons. He's like, well, just because it's a TV show doesn't mean it's not true. But like,
it's like the same thing with Cuties, where if the reason for it is to be social commentary to show an issue, I can still understand people having a problem with the media just existing. I think that's more clearly problematic than this is. I think this is more just, you know, the idea of like being offended, I think is different than what people actually consider like child porn or something like that. But I think the idea is like, when you make media that is meant to make people feel a certain way that isn't necessarily positive, it's just lazy when people think that it's bad because it made them feel bad. That's just like, to me, like just bad, just lazy and not good consumption of media. Like you're letting it at one level affect you in a certain way and not trying to delve into what that means, or if that was the intention, or what the psychology behind that is. It's just like, oh, this made me feel bad. I don't like this. This must be bad.
Agreed. Yeah. And for me, it's interesting because offense for me exists at a subjective level and an objective level. So like, oddly enough, I could say objectively, it's unbelievably offensive that was in the movie, but subjectively, like maybe like, or maybe I'm just being objective about it altogether, that it's like, I can understand the point. But the interesting thing is that Ben Stiller got more flack for Simple Jack.
Yes. He got like flack for that like last year. That became someone,
Shaun White.
That's right. Yeah, I remember there was like some celebrity that dressed up. It was Shaun White dressed up as Simple Jack for Halloween, and it like caused a recurrence with him like catching shit for that.
And you know, it's, and the fact that like the unabridged use of the word retard and retarded, like the whole discussion scene where he's like, I felt like I was actually retarded, like, and I hung out with retarded people, and like the whole full retard thing, like he brings fucking what's his name, Dustin Hoffman into the conversation. Like, don't you bring Dustin Hoffman into this, you asshole.
And dude, that was that conversation with then and then pointing out like Shaun White and I Am Sam. That was perfect. Like that conversation. Yes, it's offensive, but it is like, there was a very good point being made as far as like acting and in movies and the Academy, even like in the way that they look at roles like that. Yeah.
Because like Forrest Gump and I would say, well, I mean, autism's not the same thing, but Forrest Gump in particular, like Forrest Gump is mentally challenged, and I think a lot of people thought of that film as empowering almost to the community. And you know, the whole idea, like everybody knows, like everyone watching the movie, I think any sensible person understands that everything about that whole Simple Jack thing was just, we make movies about this, and regardless of what the Academy says, it feels kind of wrong.
Yeah.
And even like the way that they do that character is like, it just doesn't, any sensible person knows like that's not appropriate. That's essentially someone with a stutter.
Yeah.
And if you look at like this sort of like old school, like in like 19th century, maybe even very early 20th century, like people would be ridiculed and chastised for their like stutters and things like that. And they'd be called all kinds of names, like what were the dunce and things like that, like making somebody wear a cap because they were the worst performer in the class without any kind of understanding of them or their brain or
Yeah.
any of that. So, but to me, it's like, this everything about this movie is like, it's like one of the most the dumbest piece of offensive shit I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
But that's exactly why I think I love it. And you know, the thing that offends me the most about this movie,
What's that?
is when Tug Speedman says load and lock.
All right. There's
the action guy. Yeah. The action guy says it backwards.
Well, I think that was one of the jokes. And also, I mean, how many times did he like rack his charging handle for no reason? and there's not even it doesn't even eject around. Yeah, it's like that is one thing that there was like, okay, there's one major thing that bugged me about the guns in this movie, which I'm not 100% sure if it's inaccurate. I just don't know which part of the Vietnam War I guess this is supposed to be. But for the vast majority of the Vietnam War, there should not have been a forward assist on their M16s. They're rocking M16A1s that have the forward assist. And the reason why that was developed was because of the problems that troops had in the Vietnam War area or like environment with their M16s.
So it seemed to get into a gun debate, that was arguably the ammunition.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, and there's reason why people call the forward assist the do nothing button, because it really doesn't. It helps literally like one failure that is very, very rare. But either way, that just kind of stood out to me. There was like the guns almost looked period accurate, except for it was like, well, shit, why is it like one? And then it's like in the first scene, I like that finally Lazarus's character did have a shotgun, but in the first scene he had his like standard issue M16 but with a shotgun shell on his helmet for some reason, like he was gonna need that later, like
yeah, it's because it looks cool.
Yeah.
Also Kirk Lazarus has his finger on the trigger the whole time. Obviously it's a prop gun that he's walking around with. I mean, it's inside the trigger guard, on the trigger all the time.
I did notice that.
The only person that actually had decent trigger discipline was Ben Stiller.
Yeah. He looked like he trained more for this movie. Like he looked
a lot guy.
But I feel like they missed a big opportunity of just making fun of Hollywood gun mistakes. This was a movie where you could have made those jokes. Dude, like
the scene where he like extends his right hand and like does that shit, and the actual like people that know how to use a rifle are like, what is he doing?
No, but I mean making fun of the back end of that, of like, oh, I need to reload my blanks, and just stuff like the fact of like they're on set, like the logistics of making this shit look real, of like all the, because they did of course the Hollywood tropes of like, you know, firing off 100 rounds without reloading and stuff like that, but it would have been really funny to like actually pick apart the stuff that has to go into making firefights look real and shit like that in the movies, like, and like the fact that they're all like with blank, they would have had to have been carrying around magazines and shit tons of blanks, and that would have been funny to have that as been like a logistic thing of like them reloading mags of blanks and shit.
That actually would have been pretty funny, like watching actors do that too. That would have added to like the ridiculousness of everything, which, I mean, the more ridiculous in this film the better. But you know, it's like I think that essentially, like, just to kind of like bring the whole like controversy stuff to a close, like I think that actually, do you want to, I'm gonna just tiny little story. When I worked at Blockbuster, we had a regular customer there. She was really cool. She was I think she was a real estate broker of some kind, like where she would like seek out certain like types of houses for people and like travel around and do stuff. She was really cool, really great personality, super smart, loved movies, and very attractive too. She was like in her maybe late 40s. Okay. Like everybody at the store had a crush on her just because she was so cool.
Okay.
And do you remember the movie The Ringer?
Yeah, with John Knoxville. Yeah.
Arguably, probably much more offensive than this movie as far as mentally challenged people go. But this,
I don't know. I would say that it's not. Simply because they actually had a lot of people on set, like in the cast, that had intellectual disabilities, and like, yeah, like they weren't, and those people acting, like they weren't being made fun of at all. And I think that like much they enjoyed the movie. I feel like they enjoyed the product they came out with, and I feel like the movie has a positive message. You can take scenes from the movie out of context and you could find them offensive, but like the movie as a whole, I do think is true.
Because I mean, I don't really remember it that well, but before the movie even came out and nobody really knew exactly what was in it, this lady was saying she was super excited about it because her brother was mentally challenged, and I was like, this seems backwards.
Yeah, especially if you don't know anything about it and you just hear there's a movie with Johnny Knoxville, and it's like, oh, this
when I heard about it, I was like, there's no way this is going to be anything. And actually, I watched some of the behind the scenes interviews with some of the other actors in the film that were mentally challenged. And it was actually they did a good job, actually, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But you know,
it's like it made the same point that the South Park episode made, where Cartman tried to like compete in the Special Olympics and found himself that he couldn't compete at all because he was out of shape. Like, it's like people think that it's like it would be easy, but it's like, no, you have to. These are athletes. Just because they have a disability in some regard doesn't mean they're not like the top of their top of the level athletes.
Like a power lifter just lifted whatever the hell you just saw them lift, and they definitely did that. You know? And I've actually watched a couple like power lifters at the Special Olympics. Some of them are pretty strong, and they got better form doing deadlifts than half the people at the gym. But I think that. But the thing, like, that offense it's a very, very subjective thing, and like for instance, when the movie Knocked Up came out, we had a big like promo poster outside. Knocked Up. And we had a lady come into the store, and she was like, "Knocked up is a derogatory term for a lady being pregnant, and I find that extremely offensive." And I was like, "Well, it is the title of the film."
Yeah, that is fine.
It's what I said to the lady that came in the store. It's like different things are going to piss off different people, and for me, it's a lot of it is just like it's about priorities. And for me, like making it a priority that people say and do stupid shit sometimes, like doesn't really matter as much. More that people say stupid shit, and like make art that's kind of offensive, like isn't as big of a deal as like bigger problems and bigger, like the people that decide to pick it outside of like movie theaters and stuff because of Simple Jack. There's so much better stuff that they could have been doing for the community that they thought they were standing up for than walking around with fucking signs outside of a movie theater saying like, go volunteer with a group that's actually going to be of some assistance. And like instead of like raging against some people that you think are insensitive assholes, and like maybe they are, but why are you wasting your bandwidth and your time on that anyway? So like for me, like I knew we were going to go a bunch of different places with this movie, but and the thing with the thing with Kirk Lazarus and the character he plays is it is an exaggeration of the insensitivity of thinking that you know what someone else's life is like without actually knowing. And it's something that I think needed to be addressed and kind of needed to be said. And it also shows that tendency to kind of, like what you were saying, like we essentially just whitewash a role or whitewash a character now. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, was it hold on, there was a Motown group that their record was a bunch of white guys. Like it wasn't it wasn't Motown Records, because it was like before Motown Records was founded, but it was the same genre.
Interesting. Okay.
And
you're talking about like the album art they used.
Yeah, it might have been the Temptations, but the album art was like like five white guys. But there's just been a lot of like, I mean, like, well, at least they cast LeVar Burton for Roots, because that would have been really unjust. I mean, but I guess just bringing that part to a close, that like, it's just a way to take something fucked up and laugh at it.
Yeah.
And that's like where I think the best comedy comes from.
But it's also, I think that I think one point that people miss a lot is making light of something or laughing at something doesn't necessarily mean that you're sweeping the idea under the rug or that you're not taking it seriously as well. Like making comedy can also bring to light social issues while poking fun at it. And I think that people kind of miss that. They think that it's like, oh, well, this is turning that into a joke, so that means it's not an issue. It's like, well, no, it can be it can be showing that it's a joke and also bringing the issue to light at the same time. I don't think they're mutually exclusive.
And I mean, we're talking about it now because of this movie.
12 years later. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're talking about it in a very specific kind of way. That, you know, we're talking about it as an issue, like not like, oh, it's so funny, hardy, har, nothing's going on. Like that's not, at least not what it's done with us. I mean, can we talk about Pecker?
Oh, I have been waiting so long to talk about Pecker with you. Oh, hey, man.
I meant the Lincoln guy.
Oh, all right. We can talk about Pecker. Did you see what I did there with three all rights? I got it. There's this guy that you see. It'd be a lot cooler if you did. Sorry. I all right.
Man, I love this movie because it keeps getting older and I stay the same age. I mean, wait, hold on. I screwed that up so badly. I'm sorry. Everyone deserved better than that. Oh my
god, dude! He was great in this though. Matthew McConaughey as Pecker was fucking great. And
the thing is he is like a major like star type actor that's doing a supporting role. It's like it's like in like road bike racing, they have like domestiques, or the people that basically are like riding to help out the team leader, who's supposed to be the one that wins. Okay. And there's what they call the super domestique, who's a person that's also helping the team leader, but they could actually win the race on their own.
Okay.
I feel like that's like everybody that supported everybody else in the movie, they were all like really good actors by themselves.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And for me, like, I don't really feel like there was a star to the film. I think everybody that did it. But Matthew McConaughey it's very much a supporting role that he's in.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But he's so fucking good. Like the super orange fake tan that he has and the haircut, and he puts on a blazer with a polo shirt. And I hate that. I was like, I hate that so much. And I'm like,
and he's like sitting in his office barofoot. It's like, it's the perfect Hollywood agent. I love it. Yeah.
And like the Wii golf and shit, which was a shameless promo for Nintendo. And like he's looking at that very strange pornography.
Dude, no, that's not even, that is just a perfect coffee table book. I even have that in my notes here. I literally have written out, where is it? What the hell book was Matthew McConaughey looking at, and where can I get one? That is in my notes.
I would love to just put that on your coffee table just to see how far you can push the people you know.
That would be the best coffee table book ever. Like I would love to have that book. I don't know if that book actually exists or if that was just a prop for the movie, but I think it's hilarious.
If you can't find it, you might be able to find the prop on eBay for $30,000.
Yeah.
If it's for sale at all. But I mean, I thought that he did great, and like that weird like sort of Mr. Burns Smithers thing.
Yeah.
Like where he seems like he's sort of obsessed with Tug. He calls him Tugger, Tugboat.
But he also, like, I mean, he does also obviously care about him. I mean, it's like almost feels funny to talk about the plot of this movie in a serious way. I'm like, I was about to like go into his character's motivations, and it's like he had 15 years with this. It's like this movie is not the type of movie that
touch honesties, and like that goes off in Les's office.
Yeah.
It wasn't that phone a BlackBerry?
I'd probably. It
was. There's a lot of dated stuff.
We haven't even talked about Les yet. Like Les Grossman is probably my favorite part of the movie, and we've spent an hour and we haven't even gotten to him yet.
Have you heard the story of this character?
What do you mean?
How they came up with it? He wasn't even in there to begin with. There was no Les in the script.
I thought they just like watched Harvey Weinstein exist for a week, and
they were like, that guy's an asshole. Let's make him this movie. Well, no, like, so apparently Tom Cruise said in an interview that Ben Stiller had been working on this, and the two of them are acquainted, and they were watching some movie together, and they was like, oh, hey, small talk, and what are you working on? I was like, oh, I got this movie that I'm working on. Like, would you mind like looking at the script? He's like, yeah, sure. So when they looked at it, he said, well, there's no studio here. There's nothing pushing, like there's no pressure on the characters to do something. And then he brought back a revision to Tom, and Tom Cruise looked at it, and he saw this character that Ben Stiller had written in, and he was like, this is great. I would really like to play this character.
I didn't know that he like asked for it. That's
And
awesome.
he claims in the interview that what he told Ben Stiller was, I want to have fat hands and I want to dance.
Dude, the fat hands were so good.
Yes. He was like, why can't you just be in the movie like as you? He's like, I don't know any other way to play this character. That's the only way I know how to play it. And for me,
And he was so
funny,
hairy.
There's a guy that calls he calls himself Who Man on the Street, HOOMAN, Who Man on the Street. And he did like red carpet interviews with everybody, Nick Nolte, even John Voight, who was in the movie for like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
He interviewed him. And then when Tom Cruise goes by, it says Tom Cruise's name on the bottom of the screen. He's like, Tom Cruise, and he just like walks by. But
Oh man.
the thing for me is that the fact that Tom Cruise is like a pretty he's like
It's a big deal.
plus list actor. He's in everything, and there's all kinds of movies he's done. So much work that I love that he's done. But I mean,
he is a household name in many countries. Like there's like A-list level actors, and then there's like almost president level famous, where like people know George Bush and Tom Cruise.
Yeah, it's and that's like, I mean, he's like a Jackie Chan type actor, or Jet Li, everybody everywhere, or Tony Jaa. Everybody knows who they are, like every place. But I think we talked about this before. Like, I think we agree this is both of our favorite things that Tom Cruise has ever done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not a big Tom Cruise fan to begin with. So it's like, there's like, for me, it's Tom Cruise roles that I really like are slim pickings anyways. But like, but no, this role is phenomenal for me. Yeah. I mean, he's okay. I don't like him as a person, and I'm not bad at separating person from role, but very often a lot of, I think, him shows through in roles and it just rubs me the wrong way. So like a lot of Tom Cruise roles I just don't really like. Yeah, plus I'm not a big fan of the Mission Impossible movies, and that's like a huge part of his career. Like,
I was done with Mission Impossible after about the third one, I think. But I loved Last Samurai. I thought he was great in Jerry Maguire.
That's one I do like. I love speaking of what I brought up earlier, I love Rain Man. That was a movie that I loved growing up, and I think he was good in that.
Night and Day is the movie he's with through Cameron Diaz.
Oh yeah, I remember that movie.
Like a rogue like federal agent. That movie is freaking hilarious.
Yeah, that movie's not bad.
He was in
but like a lot of the early stuff, like Risky Business, Cocktail, all the like what people point to as the Tom Cruise movies, I just don't really like. Like even Top Gun, I'm not really a big fan of.
Oh really?
Yeah.
See, well, Top Gun's like great because it's so bad.
I like the volleyball scene, and that's it. I think I learned something about myself tonight.
I think we both learned something about. I already knew, buddy. It's okay.
Thank you.
Oh my god, I was thinking something about the guy, and I just completely lost it.
Volleyball will just do that.
They did this thing where it was Risky Business, and Tom Cruise like in a tie, like the same haircut he used to have. It's Risky Business, and they play that little song, and he slides out wearing pants.
That's not right.
And then you see the camera, and it's Les Grossman.
Oh my god!
Tom Cruise, like, what are you doing? This is America. People like it. And he like rips his pants off, smacks him on the ass, and then says, "Do it again."
That's awesome. That is awesome.
But yeah, the thing, like Les Grossman is a character that I just like. I thought it was great. Like his arrogance, like he doesn't fucking care. Like the scene where he's like yelling at the drug cartel guys. I don't know if you technically would call it a cartel.
I think it was Red Dragon or whatever. Like
he gets on the phone, he's like, "We do not negotiate with terrorists," and everyone like claps and applauds.
I love after he has the first conversation where he's just like, "I will fuck you up," and then after he hangs up, he's like, "Can you find out who that was?" Like, I love that. It's like he had no idea who it is. He's just yelling at him, like doesn't fucking care.
When he's talking to Four Leaf, he's like, "You are a great American patriot. Now shut the fuck up."
Yeah, I love it. Like, and I'm sure that like, you know, I have no part of like the movie industry at all, but I'm sure there are people like that. Like, I'm sure that is why Tom Cruise wanted to play that role. He has dealt with people like that his entire career, and that's probably the entire motivation for that role and wanting to play that role is like, I get to be I get to be a character of this person I've sat across a desk from so often.
And with him being who he is, I think a lot of the time when people employ him, many people might be employing him strictly because they think he'll make the most money.
Yeah.
Which as an actor, I think someone that really likes what you likes what he does and like enjoys the whole challenge and art of it, that might piss him off a little bit.
Yeah, probably.
And
well, sure. I mean, like,
so,
no matter what you do, if there's any sort of enjoyment in it, and then someone puts metrics on it, that's good. It becomes an irritation. So yeah, I can see that if you got any sort of passion for something, and all of a sudden there's metrics that mean you have to do something this way to maximize profit, it's like, yeah, fuck that.
So Jack Black's character was it
Portnoy.
Last name was Portnoy.
Yeah,
I forget the first.
It was because it's not Mike Portnoy. It was Jeff Portnoy. I kept wanting to call him Mike Portnoy, but yeah.
That was kind of weird. The thing about him is, once again, it's just bringing people's attention to something unfortunate.
Yeah.
Like, addiction is a huge problem for comedians and comic actors.
Yeah. Well, I would say for the entertainment industry, as like even in music and like just the whole entertainment industry, I think addiction is very rampant.
I mean, John Belushi, Robin Williams apparently had a really terrible cocaine problem. Dax Shepard, I think he was sober for a while. What's that guy's? Is it Theo Vaughn? He's sober now.
Yep.
He was actually able to overcome that. I mean, he has some really weird stories about like doing coke in the back of like taxi cabs and shit. I think that it's something that they're making fun of because it's so bad. Like the scene where he's like, "You need to strap me to a fucking tree, like an actual tree."
Yeah.
And the scene where he like starts with like cup the and like swallow the gravy or whatever, like colorfully like bribing people with sexual favors to get him off the tree so he can do the drugs.
Oh yeah.
And you can tell that I think that there's the moment where he talks about, people only think I'm funny, they only laugh at my farts. And it's almost like he's trying to escape the misery of that by doing drugs.
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
And the scene where he actually farts and the guys laugh at it and he gets angry and like shoves the heroin. He's like, "We have to hurry up. They'll only be out for 16 hours.
Oh my God. Yeah. This movie. Oh my. There is just way too much ridiculousness in this movie. It is.
And, there's some stuff in here like Lance Bass is culturally irrelevant right now.
Yep.
Like nobody, because when I saw the movie the first time, I didn't know Lance was Lance Bass.
See, I wondered immediately when he said Lance. I was like, I bet it's Lance Bass. I just like in my head, just because I knew it that at this time that would have been like a very relevant thing to say.
And that, like, I just totally didn't pick up on it at all. But I did want to talk about the very end of the movie because there's a peculiarity and there's also significance for me, at least.
One thing I need us to talk about real quick too is I don't understand how we didn't do this earlier. This is like for the name of our podcast, this is the perfect meta movie. This like should have been like the first when we switched to movies. This is like the meta movie. Like it is a movie about a movie. Like
that's true. But like, dude, this is a movie where you really got to get your groove. Like we probably would have gotten canceled if we made this our first movie.
True. Good point.
But I do agree. This is the ultimate like movie inside a movie. It's a movie about a movie. It's a movie about actors playing actors. It's a movie about a dude who's gotten surgery to look like another dude who doesn't even know who he is, like a very like Jim Carrey Man on the Moon kind of thing. And that's totally forgot to mention that too, is like I always talk shit about like method actors because I think they're pretentious. And I think that a lot of the people in the movie all of them were just sort of, in addition to like just the Les Grossman character, they were making fun of people that they didn't like working with.
I could see that. Yeah.
And in some ways they've all acted this way too. Like Ben Stiller even said in an interview, like everybody can be like this. Everybody that is in show business has acted in a way that they are not proud of.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. You take it like inspiration from other people doing shit and then yourself do it. Like those cringy moments that keep you up at night would be like the best motivation for scenes like that, where it's like, oh, remember that one time on set where I did that thing? It's like, I need to do that in a scene again. Like,
and that to me, like everything about this movie is very much like almost like an outlet for the actors, like to express themselves in a way that they can play out these roles, but also give a big FU to like the kinds of people that they can be in the moments they're not proud of, and also like a big FU to the people that act that way on a regular basis. But there's the thing I thought was weird at the end of the movie, Les and whatever Bill Hader's character's name is are sitting there, and he's kind of being a little nice to him, but then also kind of an asshole. But for whatever reason, he waits for him to leave and then does this whole dance thing to which is actually probably my favorite Ludacris song ever. And I'm just, it's strange to me that he actually waits for him to leave then, where that was that whole other scene with like play G5 jet, like that whole thing. Like I thought it was weird that like now you're waiting for someone to leave before you do this. Like,
well, I didn't think that it was like waiting for him to do it like that he was embarrassed or that he was doing it in private. It was just that it was like once everyone had cleared out and that was his private moment, that's what he does for fun by himself. Not that it was like necessarily like I need to hide this from someone. It's just that like when someone is alone, I think you see their true self, and that was like that's Les Grossman's true self. When he's in his office alone, it's like it's Ludacris on and it's awesome dancing. Dude's got moves. Dude definitely has moves.
Yeah, he really like that whole thing. Like he centered all those dance moves around the character too. He talked about that also. And it's funny because most of the time you're the guy that goes out and finds a lot of the behind the scenes stuff about the movies. But for this is one where I think I actually cared enough about like this movie, like the ridiculousness and the sheer irreverence of it. Like at the time it came out was something like really resounded with me. And it's watching this movie the first time, something that like really I remember it very clearly. But I also wanted to mention that I think one of the things that makes us appealing as podcast presenters is that we have a long history, and we haven't necessarily stayed in touch continuously. But do you remember when you got that little subwoofer for your Jeep when we were kids?
Yeah.
And I think because you had the subwoofer, you like got into rap.
It may have been the other way around. I may have got
rap already, and you got the subwoofer.
I may have gotten the subwoofer because I'm not sure.
We were all like metal kids. Like I mean, hey, who knows? But
I always listen to a lot of different music, but
I remember like we would listen to that Ludacris song, and like it was just so funny seeing like the skinny white kid driving a Jeep, like get back, motherfucker, and like we were all like in the car jamming to it just like that. I just remember us like cruising around listening to Ludacris because like you bought one of his albums. I think we listened to the whole thing at one point.
Dude, yeah, I was a big like I had a few Ludacris albums. I had 50 Cent. I had like there was a lot of stuff I was into. Yeah, The Game, yeah.
But I remember really enjoying listening to that song in the Jeep with that subwoofer.
Hell yeah.
Just like goofing off, kind of jamming out to it. Because the beautiful thing about Ludacris is that Ludacris was the perfect artist for that scene, because Ludacris is someone who's never taken himself too seriously.
Are you calling him Ludacris?
Yes, I am. Oh. Meta. It's what we do.
But I agree. He is like, even like all of his videos and shit, there's some sort of comedic aspect. It's like for lack of a better term, like the gangsta rap for people that don't take it seriously. Because it is like it's got that kind of like, you know, hood influence that is like, but it's like comedy rap almost.
Yeah, I mean, in the video for that Get Back song, like he has these like caricature like gigantic arms.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
Hit him with a left hook, hit him with the J, hit him with an uppercut.
Was that the same video where he had like a tiny head, or was that a different video?
I think that might have been a different one, because his head might have looked tiny in that video because the arms were so huge.
No, I remember there was like another video around the same time then where the whole gimmick was like everyone's head was either edited to be like really small or really big or something. But like I remember a lot of his videos were just funny. Like it was like even like the song, like you're saying, the lyrics are kind of funny, but then you see the video and it's like, oh shit, this is meant to be funny.
So even like the beat in that song is very like little like the horns that do like like it's just silly.
Yep.
And yeah, but because seeing that scene, like it just made me remember cruising around in the Jeep, like listening to like rap and stuff, and people kind of staring at us funny.
That's awesome. I like that I forget what other movie we like it brought up a memory like that too. But that is a really cool aspect to this, of like having a long history like that, and like moments you can think to of like a memory that like actually has a tie to something in the past. Yeah. Cool touch, man.
Yeah, man.
I like that. Are you ready to do favorite line?
Yeah. Who's going first?
I'll do mine first. Okay, so what I did want to do is I kind of brought it up to you, so I want to talk about like why I liked the line for a little bit first. And so for someone who kicked around the idea for a while of like getting into acting and shit, I really liked the scene of an actor talking to another actor about the craft and about like ideas and shit like that. So there was a scene where like I kind of, even though for a comedy movie, I got like good advice from the movie. So my favorite line is everybody knows you never go I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, guys. That is obviously not my favorite line. I thought that would be funny. But no. My actual favorite line though. So one problem I had picking a favorite line from this movie, there are so many quotable lines that I thought are hilarious, but so many of them are responses to something. Like one of my favorite lines was like, "He ain't playing God, he's being judged by him." But that's only funny because because Cockburn just blew up. Or another one of my favorite ones was pump your brake, kids. pump you. God damn it, I can't even say it. Pump your brakes, kid. That man's a national treasure. But it's only funny because he just talked about Crocodile Dundee. So it's like the comedy in this movie is great in the way that like the response to a lot of things is a really good one-liner. But my favorite line, actually, the reason why I love it is just because it cracked me up. Every time I hear it, it cracks me up, and I'm going to struggle to make it through this with a straight face. But I'll cradle the balls, stroke the shaft, work the pipe, and swallow the gravy. Get it over here, buddy. Let's do this. I made it through with a straight face, but I fucking love that line. It's just funny. You brought it up earlier talking about him being tied to the tree.
That explains why you didn't say too much, because you were like, we don't want to steal the thunder.
Yeah.
The thunder.
Oh man.
So the reason why I picked the line that I picked is because this is a character that is my favorite character in the film, and I think that this one portion very early in the film tells you everything you need to know about the guy, and you can just tell like who he is and what kind of person he is. This one's kind of long though. I see you. Which one of you fuckfaces is Damien Cockburn? And who here is the key grip? You. Hit that director in the face really fucking hard.
That is such a good line. And I love that he picked key grip too. That's such a good thing. It's like, who's the key grip?
The person that holds the boom, right?
Well, like grip would do, like the grip department does like a lot of the just logistic stuff, so like lighting and sound, just all sorts of. So
key grip to be someone rather stout.
Yeah, he's been moving equipment around set. Exactly.
Probably the ideal staff member to hit someone in the face.
Yeah,
he fucked him up. Like that's actually a really good stage punch they do too.
He obviously pulls it a little bit, but it was very good. All right, well guys, oh shit, we need to, okay, so that's right, next week. So we're gonna start a new thing where we're not just gonna know instantly what the next movie is. I'm gonna present Distance with a choice, and based on what he chooses, that will tell us the next movie. So the first one's gonna be pretty straightforward. It's a genre. Well, one of these isn't really a genre, but all right. Do you want to see a horror movie, a movie that is weird as fuck, a dark drama, or a documentary?
You know, I can never resist things that are weird as fuck.
Okay.
It's
Well,
gonna have to be weird as fuck.
if
I mean, the horror film could be weird as fuck too, but
the horror. Well, first of all, you know me. Whenever I recommend something, it's always weird as fuck. Almost. Like think of when I show you a pop artist. I'm not gonna send you like it's never been, you know, like, hey, here's this new Christina Aguilera song. It's like, hey, check out this really weird chick from Denmark that looks like an elf.
Yeah, and when you say really weird, it's kind of like I feel like someone just put a red button in front of me and told me not to push it. It's like when you tell me that a film is weird as fuck, I'm like, this is gonna be the weirdest thing I've ever seen. So
because all of the other movies are weird. I mean, the horror movie I picked, that is very weird. The other movies are weird, but this movie is. It is oh man. Okay, so next week we're going to be doing a movie called I'm Thinking of Ending Things. It is very, very, very fucking strange. And yeah, guys, buckle in. It's gonna be a weird one. So yeah, that's gonna bring us to the end of another episode of the Metacast Movie Show. If you're watching this on YouTube and you've enjoyed the discussion, please hit that like button, subscribe to keep up to date, and comment below and tell us how you felt about Tropic Thunder. And if you're wanting to further keep up to date with the show or even join us on a guest as a future episode, please join our Discord. The link in the description down below. And we'll be live next week on Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/TylerTV to discuss I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Thanks everyone for listening, and I hope you all have a great week. Ashton, I got you. Here's your hand fart. I owe you. Ooh, that was a pretty good one too. My hand fart like unplugged a USB device.
Wait, what?